like it's about ready. So I'm gonna now tap go live in YouTube. And now it is live. Okay, so this is the real deal. Cool. So welcome back to making videos together, Artur.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David.
Nice to have you. So, I mean, it's been an exciting, what has it been? 12, 14, 18 hours in Nosterland, Nostrovia.
Oh yeah.
And the big
Especially
news.
the last
The last?
like several hours were
Yeah.
when the amount of events is rising and rising. Yeah.
Right. So I guess the big news is
Interesting.
obviously that Damus was released to the App Store, finally got approved and released. And so that brought on all this pent-up demand from people who've been wanting to try Nostr and haven't really known exactly, how to use it, or maybe aren't familiar with web clients, or just were expecting that iOS experience. So given that there's now all these new people coming on, of course, relays are, melting down. I think I saw NVK said 10x traffic he's seeing compared to what would typically be. So there's a lot happening in relays. So you're a relay operator, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not a typical relay operator because normally you'd have to be like included as a default relay to get any significant traffic.
Right.
And I wasn't one of those, but my relay serves search queries for Snort, Social, and Iris. And so yeah, I guess and today I trusted like relay version of my relay, which suppresses spam. So maybe some people started using it from there and rose in volume. So yeah, my relay is melting too now.
And what is the biggest constraint? Is it CPU, bandwidth? Like what's the...
Well, right now it's CPU. I don't really have bandwidth constraint, and I don't think I will ever get closer there because it's like 1 gigabit channel
data center.
unlimited. Yeah.
And
But
what are the main things that, I know you were doing search on your relay, what are the main kind of features of a relay that you're exploring right now, or sort of what's sort of exciting to you in the relay world?
Well, I'm mostly interested in two things. First, obviously, search queries properly. So people, of course, use search in various ways, even now. Even like from day one, they use it not the way you're gonna post like npub into search bar.
Oh yeah.
Where normally a client would interpret, like detect the npub and maybe redirect the person directly to the profile page, but you have to implement that in the client, and it's not done everywhere. Or they're gonna post like a node ID or just a hex ID and person name, where the search was intended to be like the node search, but the vast majority of searches is for people at the moment. So yeah, that's the one area I'm trying to improve now. And then the second part is probably related to like paid spam-free something relays, some custom versions of relays that could serve various different needs in different situations. So yeah.
Right. Did you see that note from Fiat Jaff about different relays that he was suggesting people look into? I think one was the Eden relay, which I think is a paid relay. I think it's 5,000 sats. And then there was another one that I think was 2,000 sats. And then there was another one that required some sort of a reputation system that I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah.
Do you know much about what is that reputation system, or what's the advice there?
Well, there is some website named Cache, if I remember correctly. I haven't dug too deep into it. It's like some pre-existing network, or maybe it's even an aggregator of different networks,
Mm-hmm.
and they Nostr too, and they've got their own some rating system, which
Is that
assigns you
Mines or is
a
that
rank. Sorry, what?
was there something called Mines? I thought I heard of a
Mines
service
is a
called
different
Mines.
one.
That's
Mines,
a different one.
Mines
Okay.
is just yeah, that's a different one. The one that required 2+ trust rank or 2+ score
Right.
is the member cache relay, and I looked into that like a month ago, and I forgot
Mm-hmm.
what it meant.
Got
So
it.
it's just
They
you
must have their
can,
own internal system they've devised.
yeah, yeah. I don't think it resembles PageRank. I think it's something less sort of global
Right.
or local,
Maybe
like
they do something like
your,
some sort of a proof of work or deposit some sats or something.
yeah, maybe, or like what's the quality of your following or something.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's like some approach that is worth considering. And
Mm-hmm.
then because I saw that thread yesterday, I released my own version of this today. If you actually thread, you might see Fiat Jeff mentioning my note there,
Oh, how
which
do I
says
find that?
that.
Is it? Could I search?
Well,
I guess can I search
let's
on?
see. Let's see. You can search on Nostr band, of course.
Okay, so I bring up Nostr band, right? And we actually have a search problem we're trying to find. I think it was Eden, and I think it had the word mines in it. So will it? Yeah. Okay, there it is. Okay, by Fiat Jeff. So this is suggesting. Okay, this is exactly the utility of search. Eden Nostr.land has 5,000 sat fee. Nostr.milo.lol has 1,000 sat fee. Nostr.member.cache requires 2+ internal scores. They have some internal scoring system.
Yeah.
And then Mines is this other
Yeah,
one that's just for Mines.com
Yeah,
users.
by the way, you see the badly. That's a bug on my side.
Right.
Didn't have time yet to fix it. And then there's. By the way, are these some sort of impersonators here? Did you search for
Yeah.
Fiat Jeff?
No, I didn't. I just had.
And
I remembered that the word Eden and Mines were there, but if I search for
okay,
Fiat Jeff,
Eden
Eden
Mines.
and Mines, do I get? I kind of get the same thing. So I think there's. This may be
Yeah,
an
some people
impersonator.
are reposting the same stuff under different account. Okay,
How would I test? So this looks like
if you're
0 following, 3 followers. That's probably an impersonator. But this may be the real one.
yeah, yeah. This one is the real one. But if you click on the timestamp under the
This one.
Fiat Jeffs, yeah, it's gonna
I see.
open the thread itself.
Yep.
There should be some mention of.
So you said you were in
My-
this thread somewhere?
Yeah. Well, anyways, if you search Nostr band there, it's closer to the button.
Closer to the button, you said?
Just scroll down and you'll see.
Oh, okay. Down here?
Yeah, that's it. Another, a bit higher.
Oh, another save relay option.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another internal.
And then there's note of mine.
I see. Does it use WSS and then HTTPS? Is that typical to use
That's my rendering bug.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I rendered in the wrong.
That's just rendered incorrectly here. It's in the original post. Okay. I see.
So it's taken too long to show this thread to people, but anyway, the idea here is that is the same basically as members cache, where like this relay is gonna hide all the events and pub keys and profiles that have low trust rank, which is my internal metric.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like as it's described here in this post and below, like with some comments, it's based on page rank.
Yep.
So I would love to try this right now, but there are actually problems right now at the at the network.
Sure.
So many
So
people.
I just have like a basic
And-
question though about how would we propose to maybe use this? So Fiatjaf is mentioning this Eden, this Milu, this member.cache, and mines.com. So my general understanding is that when we think about relays, we should think about having several relays that we would push things to so that they could be picked up by followers, right? So I think the default is maybe 8 in Damus, and I think I've added another 4 or 6 or something. So typically I'd want to have, I think about having 8 relays or, a dozen relays maybe that I send things to. But these are very specific ones like nostr.land, like eden.nostr.land is designed to try to filter out spam. So if I'm using one designed to filter out spam, but I'm pulling messages from 8, the ones that are not the ones designed to filter out spam may just be returning spam. Is that right?
Exactly.
So then with the proposal,
idea,
you're going to use these, you would only want to use like 1 or 2 relays, or you should have like a bunch of relays you pay that are all anti-spam in their own way?
I don't think there is a consensus about how you'd use them. Like each player in the ecosystem tries to offer some pieces of the puzzle out of which we are one day supposed to build a solution. So I would say right now, if you have a problem with spam, you would probably go to the settings in your app and you would either click disconnect. Some clients have that button, like disconnect from spam non-filtering relays from those that don't filter spam, and then your timeline will be fetched from one relay only. Or revoke read permissions, like remove the read checkbox from all relays except the spam filtering one, and then in the app should fetch only from one relay that filters spam. But when you write, you're gonna still
you write to multiple relays, but you only read from one that you trust.
Yeah.
That's doing good.
So I think this concept of like a different set of relays where you read from and where you write to has been gaining like attention recently, and Fiatjaf, I saw him mention this idea that like there are different considerations that go into selecting which relays to read from and which to relays to write to, and so that's one thing. And in general, like Fiatjaf is trying to bring the relays higher up to the user land to not make them so hidden. And there are lots of screenshots of interesting design solutions that people are proposing in like in Nostr design group and elsewhere. So that sounds interesting because on the one hand, if you're thinking about like Twitter, if you are just Twitter, then maybe there is no concept of relays there, so why would you add that? But maybe you should, maybe not, like social network on Nostr shouldn't be Twitter copy. Maybe it should be something a little different.
Yeah, I think having a Twitter copy is just kind of a simple starting point in a way, but once it's going, you can kind of diverge and try lots of different ideas that are related to maybe different algorithms or different UIs that can do it in different ways, and it might find other requirements around how a relay should operate.
Yeah.
Do you find it, interesting or helpful, or are you sort of figuring out how to get more usage on your relay so that you can learn more, or do you think that you have enough usage that you can already learn enough given sort of how you operate today?
Well, I was looking for more usage like a week ago. Now I don't. So maybe it's just enough for a while. Um, yeah, uh, today, for instance, today I spent a couple of hours trying Iris and Snort,
Mm-hmm.
trying to use the search specifically, but then also like adding my own relay and uh, looking deeper into how they use it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are lots of problems out
Mm.
there, and so not to pick on any specific like client, but the all of them use some kind of framework like React or something like this.
Yep.
Thing usually like fires various events here and there and tries to update the screen at various times, and it all sends like volumes of requests to that are not really needed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in terms of even in terms of duplicate requests, there are lots of problems, and then there are probably optimizations around what should be sent. And so if you want to improve the performance, so probably could start with clients, with contributing pull requests to clients
Mm-hmm.
to just fix the mess if there is one.
Right.
So yeah, and in terms of search, it's obviously interesting to see what people are searching, but I had a pretty good idea of what they were searching already
Mm-hmm.
because there was some search volume on Nostr
Mm-hmm.
before my relay got integrated into clients. And so
How
yeah,
have you been? Oh, go ahead.
for now it's mostly people looking for other people much more than they look for other content.
Right. Yeah, I was having this discussion the other day with some people who are also playing around with different things around search and people discovery. And one of the observations that I think we were making is like search is a very exciting, future possibility in how you can sort of increase the quality of information. You've got all the signal, around kind of the open graph and, soon enough payments and lightning payments and zaps. So um, I think it's a future possibility, but I think the coverage is very low, and the primary usage has not come to search for a piece of content, but it's come to connect with people. And so that might suggest that a nice near-term starting point in this broader space of like kind of information organization, let's say, is who are the people that I should be connected to? Who are the people I probably want to connect to? And today, this feels like, surprisingly a huge problem that I don't feel like is got anybody who's really working to solve it, because the clients primarily are, really trying to make the client experience great, which has all kinds of UX complexity to it, right? So there's how should you manage a thread view and navigate around the conversation hierarchy and stuff. It's just very complicated, right? So lots of people, I mean, I think it's amazing what, a service like, a client like Damus has accomplished already, but a lot of new people who come to it, they say, this doesn't feel anything like Twitter. It's too raw, too junky. It doesn't load stuff, right? So I think it's, it's like a different perspective. If you kind of treat it as very early software, it's very impressive. But if you
Yeah.
but if you're like used to like this, Instagram, Twitter that have been developed, billions of dollars and a decade each, it looks raw. So anyway, there's a lot of work to be done to for any given client to really raise the bar on what the UX is like. But that suggests that they're probably not early on going to be working on figuring out how to get the right people connected to the right people. It's all very haphazard today, right? But it's to the benefit of every client to get everybody connected as fast as possible to the people they'd want to meet. Because if they do that, then of course, you know, people will stay because they're having a good experience. So it's easy for people to show up and then churn out if they're not connected to anybody. I was actually talking about this and sharing your graphs yesterday. So I'll actually pull that up because I think it's relevant to this point. Let's go to. I'm gonna pull up this one. Okay, so I'm on Nostr.band, right?
Yeah.
And I was looking at the stats. Now, until this, right? We had obviously a pretty big day here, but you could argue this is kind of like, you know, Jack came on, another bump with Snowden, but there's like these fairly flat parts here, right?
Yeah.
And when we have a flat part like that, I think basically it's either people, like a small clump of people who already get it and like it and use it a lot, continuing to show up every day, or it's new people coming on and then churning out. And they're basically churning out at roughly the same pace as they're coming on. So it's kind
Well,
of
I
a
guess
leaky
there's
bucket.
both. Like, you've got probably some percentage of new users every day that came in today and gonna leave tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And the vast majority are probably the core user base that just hangs out here.
Yep. So if you've got, you know, maybe, I don't know what the number is, 80% core and then 20% who are coming on but not sticking, they're churning out. If you can actually convert that 20% to become, you know, maybe half of them become core, then instead of being flat, it just like starts to creep up bit by bit, right? And I think
If we look at the total users graph, which is like lower,
so. This is total users.
we could
this
see,
one?
sorry, yes, so that the amount of per day growth is something like 2%, 1%, 3% daily growth
Right.
of total users. So if engagement numbers grew at the same pace, we would be on a different planet in like
very quickly, yeah.
so,
And so that's why I'm kind of saying, I wonder if one of the best ways to achieve that is to add a little bit more structure around when people arrive, how do they quickly get connected to a great experience? I think a great experience is just like get connected to the relevant content quickly. So, you know, the way it works today, you know, just for kind of summary, you go to Firehose and you maybe see somebody, you know, somebody says, hey, or they're like, what's this, testing, whatever. And then somebody comes, maybe Jack gives them a hug emoji, or maybe Bitcoin Bull gives them, you know, 100 sats or gets them to like sort of issue an invoice and pays 100 sats. So there's a few of those welcoming things, but ultimately I think the way you get people to really understand the experience is they come on, they don't do any thinking, they don't have to poke around, they don't have to dig into menus or search npubs all over the place. They just show up and it says something like, do you like soccer? Do you like technology? Do you like Bitcoin? And then you just tap that and it says, well, if you like Bitcoin, here's 25 accounts you should follow. And you can either tap follow on each one or you can just tap follow all, right? So these are kind of typical network connection things that exist in the, you know, kind of centralized provider world. And those are really effective for getting people, you know, connected and participating. But we don't have that here, right? Because clients are run by these people, relays are run by these people. There's no sort of discovery layer. So I wonder, like, would an interesting thing be, and I've sort of been brainstorming this a bunch, I don't know if this, but would an interesting thing be, what if there was something like a manual curation of the topics and the people in those topics, just manually curated today, and maybe presented in a, maybe it's even some sort of Nostr protocol compliant note that could then be built into a UI and used by all the clients. So the clients you can just sort of like drop in and get recommended people to follow that you can drop in as part of onboarding.
I think the Snort definitely has some onboarding experience, and Iris too, and maybe Damos even has one. Like the experience consists of like one screen where top 20 accounts, either top or manually selected, like Jack and Snowden and people like that, are presented for an user to follow. And so this is basically the hard-coded, not even manually created, but curated and
Right.
hard-coded list of users. And the reason I started looking into clients today, was to try to figure out if I could add something there. And I guess I could. I just didn't. I stumbled upon lots of other issues today, and didn't have time to.
And when you say
get
looking
where I
into
wanted to.
clients, were you thinking about doing a build or doing something?
I was
PR
thinking
for
about
clients?
building a PR for existing clients, like the best place in there, some place where some form of people discovery thing could happen. And they, as I said, they do have a page for that. Today really basic, but it could probably be improved a little bit, at least like your suggestion about topics. It could be manual, of course, but I'm not sure if many clients would like accept showing someone else's note for all the new users. But maybe if there is some more or less trivial to implement algorithm, like somehow take 100 or 500 top users, you don't know which of them are top, but let's say you somehow got them.
Right.
Maybe you can parse the field, about field, and just count the words and say like, this is Bitcoin people, and this is Nostr people, and this is something people.
Right.
And present that top 3 such topics to people, to new users. So you could probably do some things like that. And
do you think there are good ways to do it?
I was going to try.
Do you think there are good ways to do it where you could present something to a bunch of clients and they would feel like a discovery process that you were using was, I guess, consistent with the principles of Nostr and kind of what I think we're all hoping to achieve? So I think the bad version of it may be, okay, I have an API, just call my API with my API key, and of course you can have like discovery. Okay, nobody's going to want that. But is there a way to like, create a little bit of your own message type, or like, your own protocol within a message, store a discovery list in that message with a view towards maybe eventually there's some NIP that standardizes a bunch of fields or kind of standardizes a process for building discovery nodes?
Well, the best solution would be if the client could do it on their own, like with the current relay capabilities, or maybe with like some future relay extension that all relays would support. But then I think that such a trivial, let's call it that way, version of discovery algorithm, even if it worked at the beginning, it would unusable. And then the second best version is to have some sort of server-side discovery, but again, implemented in most relays, so that it wouldn't be like a lock-in to.
Right.
And then if that doesn't work, then probably people would be okay with using some, like they do with search at the moment, some service that does, and in some Nostr compatible way that could eventually be supported by others. So I really didn't dig too much into that, and I would say that we should probably start with some simple solution, probably client side,
Right.
and if it fails miserably, then
Hmm.
we'll just have to migrate to something more complex.
Right. Well, yeah, I certainly wouldn't propose to start with complexity, but I think the thing that I'm imagining, if you sort of fast forward the future, what does this look like? I think there's something of a, I think clients themselves are probably going to be very focused on delivering a great client experience, and they are probably not going to build all of the best discovery, like people discovery data services. They might have the best UX for presenting those people discovery options. But I think there's something in like how the data service around that operates, which they're probably not going to be focused on. And so if one client may be the one to do it today, that might be, just a nice starting point. But I think you'll need to sort of have more flexibility in how you explore that space. And like clients probably don't, I don't know, I would guess they maybe are not going to be deep enough there. We had a question. Cyberfork just joined. Relays getting pounded with repeat requests due to client implementations, lack of caching. Okay, I don't know when that was said. That may have been a little bit ago.
Yeah,
But
well, that's
my
true.
point,
That's
is
one of
true.
the points that I was making earlier.
Yep.
That there's huge room for improvement there, and it all kind of worked, and like while we didn't have high load, and now we have, so it's probably gonna be fixed in the coming like several days, but for now, that's what it is.
Hmm. So on the but sorry I interrupted. But on the discovery topic, um, wouldn't it make sense that, I don't know if it's a function of a relay or a middleware or something, but that like a client would pull data from somewhere to figure out who are the people that I should show on this page. So like a very simple example, if I follow Artur, like on Twitter, I follow Artur, then Twitter unrolls this screen that says, here's, here's like, 10 other people you might be interested to follow. So that to me feels like it's something that would be, it'd be useful to be able to present that screen, but where the data comes from may actually have like a infinite different types of choices, different types of algorithms that people might choose to implement. So is
Well,
it too early
as
to
I
start
said,
exploring where that
I
lives?
don't think it's too, I don't think it's too early, but the problem probably, like the reason no one really, maybe, I guess I haven't seen it, is exploring, because there are so many other issues there
Mm-hmm.
like to fix, and like just missing features that are a must have.
Right.
So maybe that's the reason why it's not being actively explored. And then again, with the algorithm, I would still start with the trying to do it on the client,
Mm-hmm.
with its local view, like what it can itself calculate based
Right.
on the existing API to a common relay. So
Yep.
like if you're following me, then all it has to do is like download, find several people that I follow, or some version of that,
Mm-hmm.
and present it to the user with, for instance, when someone visits the page and they follow me, there may be at the top some 3 suggested other people to follow. If the
Right.
user is only following like less than 10 persons, something
Mm-hmm.
like this. And so even things could skyrocket number of followed accounts, I guess, without
Right.
like too much sophistication there.
Yep.
So that's there are probably very low hanging fruits there because there's essentially no work done there at all at the moment.
Right.
And
Yep.
then after like that part is there somewhere, then we'll probably can become smarter about it. Or if someone learns to abuse that algorithm, so like if every new user starts getting spammy suggestions
Mm-hmm.
and client cannot fix that, then again, that may be the cause for a real rethink about how to solve the problem.
I see.
Yeah.
Do you think kind of it's good enough as is, but we haven't really had anybody investing in trying to make it super
Yeah.
good yet? And you think clients will be the first to invest in kind of exploring UIs there?
Well, the clients have really different ideas, like core developers of the clients have really different ideas of about where things should evolve.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing, and maybe even overall communities exploring the overall vision. Like as I said, it might not be even clear that discovery should be happening at the person level, at the profile level. Maybe it should be happening at the relay level. So like the people in the design group are suggesting various like screenshot ideas that maybe we should have a nice big screen where relays are grouped into topics. Maybe relays are specific, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have like Bitcoin relays and sports relays and gaming
Mm-hmm.
relays, and people start from their journey down there, like further down to Nostr universe.
Mm-hmm.
So like going too deep on one idea about how that discovery at the moment should be performed is a little,
I see.
and that's why like very uh, simple solutions should probably be implemented, but then we should probably wait and see how it develops.
I see. And is the thinking behind topic-centric relays, is that because there's probably going to be a lot of people connectivity between those people? So, like if
Well,
you're in a gaming relay, maybe you're following a lot of gaming people, a lot of gaming people are following you, and so you just want like more connectivity densely across that?
well, I personally haven't invested too much like thinking into the idea of heterogeneous network where there are subsets of relays that somehow are disjoint from the rest of the network.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I think, this is like a Reddit model than Twitter
Right.
model. And
It has some even like Mastodon feel to it, in
I have
both.
like at all, so I have no idea what it is. Sorry,
Oh,
but
but
well,
it
anyway,
it's definitely
my,
better
my,
in that
my
it's
what I
not.
wanted to say,
Yep.
what I wanted to say is that the this is not something I'm excited, but
Mm-hmm.
this idea is worth exploring because it's definitely more decentralized. Like
Yep.
if you have really separate groups of people, then it's much harder to capture this whole thing under one like business entity and milk it.
Right.
And so why not? Like maybe we can come up with mm, some UI and relay level, client level solutions that bring relays closer to users so that they would be more conscious about them, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe then they won't allow some big corporation to capture the whole ecosystem.
Right. I wonder if a relay, like if a topic-centric relay became an important part of the future, would the relay potentially get Like, would the relay operator gain too much control to sort of ban people? Because presumably you could still route around, but
Yeah.
what's the purpose of having so many people? Like, why is thematic gathering important? I guess is my question. Or like, why is that proposed as something that people are thinking about?
Well, the core reason is to somehow make Nostr more decentralized. And one of the variations of a solution is that, well, maybe if we make a more visible entity to the end user, then they will be picking different ones, and maybe then they won't end up on a single one like the whole 1 billion users. But
Right.
the more, and I'm not sure if there really are other reasons aside from there. Like for me, there isn't, but that's just me. I haven't used Reddit or any other communities really.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it's like technically possible today because either you allow everyone access to this thing, but then as any other like forum, it starts devolving,
Right.
like the topic centricity starts dissolving, and so you either have to somehow moderate to steer the conversation to make it stay on the topic.
Yep.
Or you start accepting people, like whitelisting people, like
Right.
this ad land relay that you have to pay to get access to this
Mm-hmm.
thing. But then it's just a website, no, essentially. Like this
Right.
is a closed community or a Mastodon server, I guess, where there is a single dictator. But then maybe if you have your own relay, like you connect to this closed ecosystem, but you also write your own events to like your own relay and maybe to some archive relay and maybe to some other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the dictator goes crazy, then
Right.
maybe the whole community can just migrate. They can just like click two buttons and all the people that want to fork
Right.
just import all their existing history into some other relay, and here you go. There's another Bitcoin community on different relay that has all the same history. Yeah, so it seems options there, and people are probably gonna try them all.
Right.
But that's not something I think too much about. So
Got it. Yep. I wonder if we could go dive in a little bit on the Nostr.watch, because I think that was a website that you were mentioning.
Okay.
You were
Yeah.
you were playing with a bit. I'm going to pull that up in the share. So this is Nostr.watch, right? I'll refresh it so I make sure we're starting at the front page here. So I think Nostr.watch, my understanding is it's kind of this watch of what's happening with relays. Is that the right way to think about it? Like it sees 269 relays, it's checking, it's pulling in all the data right now live.
Yes, it is. And to be clear, that like when you say I'm playing with it, it's just I'm using it sometimes. Sure. This is not my website.
Yep.
And so yeah, this is the probably preferred and maybe only way to figure out which relay works for you, because it's gonna check every relay from your browser, so it's gonna measure like the latency from you to this relay. And so yeah, you can see like huge number of relays that have very low latency, but there are probably no people there, like at all. And
meaning these are just relays that people happen to have put up, but they're not actively used.
yeah, they're not
sort of a
actively
default
used
client.
because Yeah. And if you scroll somewhere and try to find maybe Damus relay,
Here's one of the ones that
Or s-
that Vyacheslav had mentioned, right? Nostr.milu.lol. So is that orange
well, this
because
one
he
is
mentioned
a closed paid one. Yeah, it's orange because it's paid. You can't write to it
Oh, I
without
see.
getting a permission, and so
Yep,
that's why it's not overloaded at the
I
moment.
see. Yep. So orange doesn't mean there's a problem. Orange means it
Yeah, you
is
can see like this column. There is a column, the last one, right. It's called right.
right.
Then the
I
relay is
see.
marked as yellow. So an anonymous user cannot write to this relay.
I see. So can I find your relay here somewhere?
Yes, you can. You can press, what
Like
is it,
Command F?
Control F or something. Yeah, and bend, type bend, and it's probably gonna be found
There it
somewhere.
is. Okay, so you're orange. Is that what
Well,
you expect?
this Nostr watch script hasn't checked it yet, probably.
Oh, I see. This is a fast relay with full archive of textual posts.
Well, that's my description of it
And
that I have put
it's
like
just
a
checking the
month ago.
SSL. Okay. And so this
SSL
has
should be fine.
figured I'd try it because I noticed it's it's very prominently displayed here. I was curious why they. Oh, look at it, changed it.
I'm not sure why
So
read is red. Yeah, so
it
now
updated
it
now.
has measured.
Maybe
Yeah,
because I made the request to it, now it actually updated the data. So it looks like it can connect, it can read, and it can write.
yeah, but the latency it shows right now it's very high.
And that's
And I could
between
go
this browser and that
check out.
location, right?
Yes, but I would say that it's probably actually overloaded.
Hmm.
Well, not really right now. So yeah, it might be just a glitch or something.
But is this measuring from
Anyway,
my browser? Because
uh,
I'm, I'm a
yes, it
long
is.
distance to there, right? Compared to some of the US based ones. I'm Pacific
Well,
Coast.
this is very high. This is very high latency. It should normally be like 200 milliseconds or something,
Mm-hmm.
at least 10 times less than it was here.
Right.
And then I think Nostr Watch was a nice solution to look for a relay. There were like a couple dozen of them,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 5 dozen.
Right.
Then you could just go there and find some underutilized relay and use it and add it to
Mm-hmm.
your client. But now the vast majority of nodes is probably on like 10 relays. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you are picking another one, you can pick it for writes. But if you want to read from it, you're probably not going to read anything from there. And I saw someone building a smart relay suggestion tool
Mm-hmm.
on Nostr. That person was going to analyze like the people you're following and something,
Yep.
and suggest you like a set of relays that would a minimal set. Well, but then again, I would say that this whole logic should be in the clients themselves. So, for instance, like some clients, when you go into settings, you will see of relays and even the latency. Like the client knows the latency, and it
Mm-hmm.
knows that this relay takes 2 seconds at the moment. Right now, it is very slow. So maybe it should just skip requesting that particular relay just to save bandwidth and
Right.
CPU for it. And like this is like trivial idea, and then you can do something more sophisticated, like what the gossip client is doing by selecting the smallest set of relays that would cover you, the people you're following. And
Right. So can we talk about
yeah,
that? Because I think, did you send me the video of the gossip?
no, I didn't.
Some
But
somebody sent
the
me a short explainer of gossip, but maybe you can sort of
yeah,
give
that's
give an
the
overview.
so the idea is that the gossip client does not care about global feed. He only cares about the people he follows, like the
Mm-hmm.
user follows. And then if you follow 100 people, you can just look at which relays those people are using, which relays they are writing to. And you can find this.
How do you find
If
which
you
relays they're writing to? If you're starting from scratch, how do you know that?
the your list of relays is saved into kind 3 event, just
Mm-hmm.
like the list of the people you follow. There is also a content field where clients write the list of relays that this user is writing and or reading.
Mm-hmm.
If you are following a person, then you can read their contact list and you can take from there the uh, list of relays that that user is using. And then you can aggregate this data for all the people that you're following. And then you
Mm-hmm.
can find relays that cover the vast majority of those you're following.
I
And
see.
so you can pick like relays at most and get maybe 99% coverage or more.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't have to like duplicate requests too much, duplicate your requests and then process the duplicate data that they return to you. And so even now, like some people have 5 relays, some people have 10, and some people have like 30. And you can imagine receiving all the same data 30 times.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense from all points of view.
Right.
And
And so
then there's mobile.
is this a new protocol that would kind of live above, like it's separate from the actual Nostr protocol, but it would not be sort of involved directly in the messaging, but it's more around sort of the relay discovery and management?
No, this is not a protocol. This is Nostr protocol and the kind 3 event. So all clients already write the list of people into kind 3 event.
Oh, I see.
And all you have to do is just look at it. You,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to figure out connect to, if you want to read stuff from this set of followers, then you
Mm-hmm.
can use that idea to find that set of relays. And
So it's almost like
have
a
some
network traversal kind of algorithm.
it's on you can do it on the client, like the client can do it. If
Mm-hmm.
when client opens up and it fetches your contact list, whom are you following, then it can get fetch those people's relay lists and prepare for you a set of relays that you should connect to.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, I would say that the idea of gossip should probably be extended, and maybe it's already there with things like the current performance of each of the relays that you chose. Like if some relay is really slow, you could probably throw it with one, maybe 2 other relays that are fast.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to maintain more connections, but they work much faster. And so yeah, uh, there's a lot of things there, and that's all basically around the idea that relays are invisible. Like user does not switch at the UI level between relays. And if we start letting users choose between relays, that's like a really different conversation.
But is that what you were saying in the design community? There's some discussion around trying to make the relay selection more prominent in client UI?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a bounty on bouncer.org posted by Fiat Jeff.
You say
He's
bouncer.org?
trying.
this NVK created this website.
Or bounced, something
It's
like
like
this.
for
Bounce,
that for
bouncer,
listing
bouncer,
bouncer.org.
bounties on for Nostr. Bouncer.org.
BOUNTSR.
Exactly.
Nostr bounties. Okay, so I've got. I'll just pull it up here so we can share and look together. If I go to this one. Sorry, I'm still getting my chops. My live streaming chops. Bouncer.org. You can see it now? Okay, so this says
So
there's 139.5 million sats and bounties. That's about, what, like a Bitcoin or so? Bitcoin and a half?
Yeah.
And these are all different proposals.
So the third bounty relay-based social Nostr app design thing is the bounty, and there are several, at least a couple of people that I saw in the group who are trying to come up with some solutions here.
I see. And so there's a few posts. So the apps that exist treat relays as these shameful things that must be hidden. But for Nostr to really scale and be useful, relays must take a more prominent role in user experience. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I see why that claim would be. Like, I believe relays must take a more prominent role. Like, wouldn't the ideal user experience be like, set it, it does stuff that's smart. If I want, I can control it, but I normally don't have to touch it?
Well, that depends on what you like, how you conceptualize relay. Like when we discussed your discovery ideas, you yourself said like maybe we can group them by topic. Like here are Bitcoin people and here are sports people. Well, that's essentially the same idea here. You have to at some point you're gonna have to like segment all the content by topic or by relay or by something. Like, so why not by relay? That's the idea, I guess. Because if you do that at the relay level, then you also contribute to the network. Like if you're just focusing on, let's say, on topics, then topic segmentation can be done on a single huge Google server.
Right.
But if you make, then you probably could solve some form of topic segmentation, but also contribute to decentralization. That's the idea, I guess.
I see. Okay, so maybe actually knowing what relays you're using is not the core important piece, but more just that the features that a relay may provide, like if topic discovery or people discovery based on a topic is a feature that a relay provides, then you need to, I guess, be connected to that relay. And that itself should be surfaced through the UI.
And then, well, also maybe we should this you really discussed this, and maybe we should. So we mostly talk about relays, clients, and users, meaning like an average, like following 100 people and himself has like 100 followers. But then but the network is not that homogeneous in terms of users. Like it's really about 1% of users has got all the following, and those are, let's call them influencers. We haven't really spoken about how those people could drive the evolution of Nostr, and maybe we should, because
that's an interesting topic, because given the asymmetry in the following graph, that does seem natural.
Because there are questions about, well, is there a decentralizing force in the Nostr ecosystem? And if you look at the relays and clients, you probably won't see one, because as we discussed earlier, like every relay has incentive to grow, to serve more, get more revenue from them, and every client is incentivized to grow and serve more people and have its own relay and serve more people to capture most of that revenue.
Yep.
But if we add the next level of the who is actually producing the most popular content, those influencers, and then you think like, well, could one influencer in the world, and there probably can't be only one.
Right.
There probably will be like 10,000, I don't know, some big number, and every one of those will to be captured by a big corporation.
Right.
So like every current influencer posts to like a dozen social networks,
Right.
except for Joe Rogan, who has been dealing with Spotify only, but the
Right.
vast majority of them does not want that. They all want to spread their
Yep.
posts as far as they can. And so what it means to me is that an influencer is gonna cause, like, be the reason why more than one relay exists in the world, and why that one relay cannot have exclusively all the data and close access to it for all other like people and relays and other clients, because those same influencers are motivated to not be captured by that server, and they're going to post to like a dozen or maybe 100 relays. Why not? Because there's no overhead in posting to 100 relays. There's overhead in reading from 100 relays.
Right.
But you can literally post to like 1,000 relays, to all relays there are, and it's really cheap in terms of like.
So is your idea to
bandwidth.
consider here, because of the asymmetry in the kind of writes versus read for an influencer? Obviously, an influencer would have like maybe a single write event could be read tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of times, right? So you want to, are you thinking about, I guess the relay capture idea feels different than the, than the way capture occurs in the world today, because of the fact that the UI and the data stores are coupled in most of the services today. And because they're decoupled here, it feels like there's not as much risk of capture, even if let's say all influencers, people of, I don't know, what's the number, 100,000 or more followers, were all posting to a common relay that was really built for scale and had a lot of connectivity for reads. If that were the case, and then that relay operator were to, ban somebody because they didn't like what they were talking about, that individual who got banned could still have a separate relay, and maybe another one would spring up to serve their needs, right? So I'm not sure that I fully understand the capture point you're making.
Well, my point is that influencers are going to post not to one relay, they are going to post to 100 relays,
right?
Just to make sure their data does not end up in a silo, which means that all those 100 relays are going to have a business, like other millions of followers are going to distribute themselves between those 100 relays and pay them to read events of the Elon Musk or someone like this, which to the point, will the whole ecosystem be captured by one company? That's one of the reasons why I think it won't, at least at the level of client and relay. Like a client maybe, but it's really, because it doesn't store any state, but the relay does store state, but because influencers are going to copy their events and spread them as much as they can switch relays easily, even if one of them bans a person or tries to close access to other users, etc. That's one thing. And then to the point of topical relays, like if an influencer strikes a deal with Spotify relay and only has his content, their content, her content on that relay, then this relay becomes sort of a niche topical thing, and this influencer attracts people there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that's like gonna happen, but it could, because we've seen this in the real world today, with various exclusive deals.
Right.
So maybe that could drive the topical segmentation of the network.
In your mind, if I hear right, the money will typically flow to pay for read events from a relay. Is that kind of the mental model that you are using?
Okay. So we haven't spoken about this, about my maybe crazy or maybe not too crazy idea of how it should work.
Tell me.
So the I would say that a relay has to be paid both for reads and writes,
Mm-hmm.
and probably at with a model of some version of like per kilobyte or something. So if you want to receive some amount of data from me, you pay per byte, let's say, or per event.
Yep.
And you want to write to me, you pay per write. And then imagine this. And then each relay would have to have a dynamic pricing model based on their current load. So
Yep.
if I'm overloaded, I just rank up the prices. And all the clients are now motivated to switch to someone else who is cheaper
Yep.
and underloaded. That's a good thing. And then imagine this. There is a relay that stores Elon Musk.
Right.
And some people are not connected to it, but they are connected to me. Like, let's say 1,000 people are connected to me, but they still want to read Elon Musk's posts, but they for some reason ask me, not that relay.
Mm-hmm.
They're asking me. Then my relay is incentivized to go connect to Elon Musk's relay,
Right.
pay to get that Elon Musk's node, and then
Right.
resell it to my 1,000 people.
And you pay
So what
once,
happens
and then you resell 1,000 times.
once, and I resell it 1,000 times? What I do this way is I naturally, based on real demand from real users, distribute the load from like wherever they are.
Mm-hmm.
So now relay is incentivized to implement some sort of routing algorithm to figure out where the stuff that people are requesting network, pay to get that stuff, and then resell it to his clients and his subscribers.
But presumably
And I
this
kinda
is a
like
very competitive
this.
market, right? Where like the pay to
Yeah.
read very quickly gets to like, ideally like close to the marginal cost of, the
Yeah.
storage or
Yeah.
something, like, very competitive.
I would
right?
say that that's where we should go.
Yeah.
Like the relays would, unless someone captures like a market somehow,
Mhm.
relays will be a commodity. There is no way for them to like differentiate themselves. That's protocol to make it a standard, so that you could switch relays. And so yeah, any payment that relays are gonna get will cover the costs eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I can appreciate the instinct of relays becoming commoditized, but I'm not so confident that it happens in quite that way, because there probably are advantages to scale in how you operate a relay. So if you have really cheap storage, really good bandwidth and connectivity and performance,
Yeah.
and almost like in the traditional internet, we have peering agreements between big backbones and data centers, and those kinds of things, largely are, they're really more scale issues. But once you achieve that scale, it's really hard for others to compete with that scale. Now, the good news is you don't necessarily, like, maybe I'm willing to compromise performance for a little bit more self-sovereignty. So, like, instead of using the big corporate run relay. Maybe I actually want to run my own, but I can still pull data from the corporate one to read, and maybe I write to my own, and then maybe the corporate one pulls down from mine and tries to resell it or something. So I think the protocol, I don't think necessarily, I don't know, I guess I'm not fully convinced that all relays become totally dumb and commodity. I think they may, but I think there's also potentially advantages just in the, just in scale that could help, just from kind of hardware nuts and bolts of, CPU, bandwidth,
Okay.
geographic distribution, performance. But then I also think there's services that a relay could provide because it has all this data, it's storing all this stuff,
Mhm.
it has a business model that allows it to sell. Now it sees all this stuff. In memory, it can run algorithms that help with discovery or search or other things that could differentiate. Now, maybe not so dominant that nobody else can exist, which is kind of how it works today in social networking. But maybe you could still have some very dominant while lots can flourish. I don't know.
Okay,
Like,
so
how do you think of that model?
The uh, when I say that relays are interchangeable, I mean if we are only taking into account like the basic feature set, the NIPS standard
Yeah.
that all clients expect any relay to support, essentially. So if your relay provides, like my relay today provides search feature, and
Mhm.
I think eventually many relays will provide it, but
Yep.
while it's not the case, I get some uneven share of the traffic, and I fulfill some feature. So
Mhm.
in that segment, of course, I am differentiated at the moment. So there will be, I guess, different features provided by different relays, and maybe some
Yep.
of them will compete and some will be unique. That's like a different plane for me. Like that's the upsell to the basic relay feature set. And then professional operators will have economies of scale and that kind of stuff compared to hobbyists. But then hobbyists maybe don't even think about making this thing a business. Like a business has to be a business. It has to have revenue and has to have profits. And maybe some guy at home is willing to subsidize his own relay.
Mhm.
So I wasn't really talking about how the business model around relays is going to evolve. My thinking was about how paying for reads and writes per volume
Yep.
would incentives to distribute the load naturally and to make this network restructure itself based on
Mhm.
who is following whom, essentially based on like who is writing where and who is following whom. So
Right.
yeah,
I
I
we've
think it's
talked
an
about
interesting idea.
we've talked about a model for pricing on reads and pricing on writes. And
Yeah.
how do you think about pricing for storage? Because it's another cost. Like if I write something small but I expect it to be stored for 100 years,
Mhm.
that's more expensive than just the write.
I haven't thought about it really. I would guess that it's probably if such a thing exists, then it probably is separately. Like here is a way to like archive your stuff. If you don't want to do that on your own, if you don't want to like email yourself all your Nostr events, but like
Right.
want to have some thing in the cloud that stores them. And then if you have this model, which I have just described, then your post is potentially a revenue source for Relay if it is going to resell it indefinitely, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's worth storing it for free, like for the writer, but
Right. So it's almost
some
like
revenue by serving it.
to me that starts to sound again like a way to differentiate, which is if I can predict that this will have future reads from it and there's revenue associated
Yeah.
with those future reads, then I may take it and not charge for storage. But if you're just gonna store some personal photos
Yeah.
that you want access to 10 years from now that nobody's gonna pay to read, there's a lot
Yeah,
of
that's
like
maybe
open market
another
stuff around.
level. That's probably another level where really could potentially like differentiate their pricing. You could charge Elon Musk one price, and you could charge me a very different price. I don't know.
Right.
This is really um, talk
I mean, I
because
guess
at the
at a high
moment
level,
there's no.
I agree with your concept that relays are kind of dumb and commodity today, but I'm just saying, like, if you project out and assume that sort of this ecosystem will grow, lots of relays will compete to try to be, to serve users the best. I think there will be natural points within that competition which will cause some potential, probably no single monopoly, which would be good to not have a single monopoly, but it might actually cause several large kind of commercial entities that kind of more like corporate entities, but they ultimately
I
need to be operating not like monopolies because the competition will be
Yeah.
so fierce from the hobbyists, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is what's exciting.
It's not even from the hobbyists. Like I think there will not be a monopoly, and probably not even oligopoly at the
Right.
relay level. It will probably be, I don't know, several dozen huge compared to a hobbyist, but not huge compared to Google or some winner take all thing.
Yep.
Relay operators, and of course they're going to operate at very different uh, models compared to hobbyists. And,
Mhm.
but well, in my head, the beauty of the thing that I explained, creating economic incentives at the protocol level, it sounds interesting. It sounds like we wouldn't have to force some structure on the network.
Right.
And instead, if we just create incentives, then every client and every relay, of course, they're gonna start being dumb about what they do, and they're gonna waste a lot of resources and money of their users. But then eventually, they will figure out how to do it better. And since it's open source, then one solution and one client in one relay just is being copied in everywhere else,
Mhm.
and it will evolve into every participant being smarter and smarter about how they manage the funds of the user that has put it into the app.
Yep.
It should, and given the second part of it, the influencers who are popular content, who are not incentivized to get all caught up under a single umbrella,
Mhm.
we might get like a decentralized Nostr. Maybe even without this idea of making relays prominent. Like maybe relays could stay under the hood if there is economic incentive for the network to self-organize and distribute the load, etc.
Yeah, I mean, that
That's-
to me seems pretty compelling that we don't have any of these like, routing discovery protocols or kind of algorithms like you might have like on the internet, the way DNS tables get shared in BGP, and there's all these kind of ways that, this rough consensus helps
Yeah.
packets flow to the right place. And we don't really have that, relays really are truly pretty dumb today, right? But it seems like those meta algorithms or maybe additional protocols on top to help, figure out where posts are, where nodes are, where, what should be copied where should it be pulled down from, who has the best price. All of those feel like greenfield almost. I don't even hear people talking about it yet. It's probably too far off. I don't know if it's too far off, but it's so frontier that I don't hear it much as topics of active discussion. But it does seem like a self-organizing, kind of economy around this that drives pricing, to a very efficient frontier of, utilization of resources seems like a natural a natural outcome of having an open protocol like this.
Yeah, it sounds nice when it's in my head. As soon as it gets out, we'll see how it goes.
So what are you thinking about? Do you have sort of a set of, sort of as you've built now? Actually, let me pull up because I know you've just simplified the web page a lot, so it's easier
Yeah.
To understand all the services.
After our recent talk.
So I'm going to pull it up. If I pull up, so right now if I go to nostr.band, obviously there's search here, so I could search, and I mentioned soccer, which I know most of the world calls football, but I'll try searching for soccer. Okay, so there's some people who have who've been posting about this topic already. So there's kind of like, search engine, pub keys, post IDs, keywords, etc. And then I think this default view, if I understand right, we're looking at people that I may want to follow. And why would I want to follow them? Because they recently posted something?
You search for soccer, and these people have soccer in their bio. That's why you see them. It's a search result page.
So if I wanted to clear the
if you want to go to the homepage, yeah, you should click there.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Fix the empty
that's good. Real time
search button. Yeah.
So if we look kind of at so search, I think we basically understand. Then there's discover Nostr, find new people to follow, uncover popular conversations. So there's 4 things here. There's people, posts, links, and hashtags. So if we start with people, Swan is an account that I might want to follow. Here's the npub for it. So the other day I was going through here and like copying npubs and pasting them into my Mac OS Damus client. It seemed to be like a reasonable way. But what happens if I hit follow? Does it launch? Oh, it requires Albi. Is that right?
Yeah, you could do that, or you can click the... Oh, so many spinners, nice. So you click on the menu near the Swan name, then you can click go to the app.
Oh, I see.
And you either have one of those web clients, or you can open it in Damus.
Right.
Hopefully, if it does open.
So it opened Damus, but didn't open to that. Is it meant to open to like a specific profile?
Yes.
Okay.
If
So I
it
think
didn't,
I think it's not doing that at the moment, but maybe this is. Did you design and test this on the mobile environment? Because I'm using it all desktop, laptop.
Let's try. I actually have tried it, so I guess it should work. We could try it right now.
Do you want to screen share it or just?
No, I'm gonna try it on mobile.
Oh, okay.
I have a plan that would capture that Nostr app link.
So I assume it's
Okay,
got
let's
some
see.
routing thing to tell Mac OS that it has to open that local native client.
So it does work in Amethyst
mobile context.
client.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
Got it.
it
Yep,
doesn't capture it.
I
But
get the, yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's either Damus or OS issue here.
Yep.
We should probably somehow debug it later. I should.
Right. But overall, this is meant to help make it easy for me to find high quality accounts to follow. And so how do you decide what's high quality enough that it should be shown here? How do you sort of prioritize these?
So these all of those tabs are for the last 24 hours, like what's popular in the last 24 hours. And then to find out if a person is popular, you can see this plus something followers mark. So for people, take the new followers that this account gained in the last 24 hours, and I sum up their trust rank essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and I something accounts. So it's not ordered by number of new followers. It's ordered by the number and weight of new followers.
Right. And
So
so
it's essentially
Swan
trending
looks-
accounts.
Right. So it looks like Swan has 1,554 followers, and if I understand this right, it added 1,128 followers in the last
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's both
Exactly.
now a relatively large account, and most of that largeness came very recently. So that puts them at number
Yeah.
one.
And then there is, let's say, the third one, Stefan Liviera,
Stefan
who
Livera,
gained
yep.
like much less in
Mhm.
absolute terms, but those people are very prominent, and then that's the reason why he's on the third place, essentially.
I see. So basically, like Jack and NVK and Hodelnot followed
Yeah.
Stefan Livera, so that boosted him up here.
Yeah.
I see. This one is really good. Have you followed Puns yet?
I saw it, I didn't follow them yet.
It's very good. It just issues puns, like little
Yeah.
jokes throughout the day. I've been enjoying it. So Snowden is further down. He's actually got quite a big follower base here now, 7,000 followers. Added 1,000 in the last 24 hours, but maybe does trust rank actually?
Yeah,
Like,
those people are probably much less prominent, like because prominent people probably followed him like in the
Followed him
first
right
day
away.
that he joined, and
Yep.
so that's the reason why he's not at the top with such a big number.
I see. Yep. And so we look through, and most of these do look like, many of these are recognizable people from kind of the,
Yeah,
let's say, Bitcoin community, are a lot of them.
exactly.
And then do you suspect that there are already emerging other topical groups? Like, would there be a group of people maybe interested in, well, I guess like there's probably some set of people who are Nostr, like much more Nostr focused than Bitcoin focused. So is there a good way to just like find all of those people together?
I am interested in that, but I spent really like zero time on that.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm gonna build several other pages here, like top things, not just trending, but like top most popular people, most popular stuff.
Right.
And then hashtags could somehow be a way to segment things into topics.
Mhm.
So maybe if you click on hashtags, we could check out what's trending there. Maybe something's new.
So
Normally
hashtags
you
with
use either
Nostr.
like Bitcoin and Nostr.
Mhm.
Have you opened them or not? I don't see it
I don't think
updated
I have.
on the screen.
Oh yeah, I have opened hashtags. Can you see hashtags on the screen now?
No, I can't.
Oh, maybe let me try
I
refreshing.
don't see them.
Do you see a screen share at
No,
all?
it's
or
not like this. The screen share has frozen. Probably. Maybe
Oh,
you
okay.
can try closing it and
Okay,
reopening.
close screen share. Do you see it close now?
Yeah.
Screen share is closed. Okay, so now we'll reopen screen share on trending hashtags. Now can you see trending hashtags on Nostr.band?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So now
Okay.
here it is. Nostr is the top trending one.
And so if we click on that, we get all of the people who have, I guess this is Nostr in the bio. Actually,
Well,
this is
the-
the
By default are similar to Twitter in that top several positions are people, and then there are posts. And if you
Mhm.
start paging, like going to the next page, then you are gonna only see posts. But you can also click and more something profiles there.
You're saying
So-
from here, what should I do?
What I'm saying is that the first
Search results.
results right now are people.
Yeah,
And
so
then
this is
there are
Yegor,
posts.
Petrov, PT United, and Blake. Those are the 3 people results, and there's hash Nostr in the. Does this one have hash
Bio,
hash
yeah.
Nostr in the bio somewhere? Or no?
Yes,
Oh, here
he
it is.
does.
Yeah, there
You
it is.
start, from it.
And then hash Nostr. So basically, this says
Mhm.
these people have an exact match of hash Nostr in the bio, and there's 47
Yeah.
more that also have that. But like, I think
Yeah,
I have
and the
Nostr
people-
in my bio, but not with a hashtag, so I wouldn't show up, right?
I guess you wouldn't, yeah. But if you search for Nostr, then it will show both hashtag and Nostr.
Yep. And so we have plus 810 if we don't use the hashtag.
Yeah.
So 813,
Yeah.
including these people, right?
And the people search also has the same ranking idea in that it orders people by trust rank essentially. So it's not always that the most followed account will,
Mm-hmm.
because there's one guy who got himself like 15,000 followers who were all bots, and he's not gonna pop up everywhere, which is great.
Yep. So you've kind of done some nerfing if he has, his followers are bot like.
Well, he's got I've got trust rank calculated for every one and every
Mhm.
post, so he's got some low value even though he's got many followers,
Right.
because all of those are bots.
Yep. Cool. So we're looking now. These are all the posts that have hash Nostr in them, right?
Yeah.
And so if we were to go back to the hashtag, the overall hashtag view, we can see the most popular hashtag topics. So obviously Nostr is number 1. Looks like hash 140 is become a hashtag because maybe Jack was tweeting that, or writing a note, posting that
What is it? Thomas Proton.
I think Damus became app number
Oh.
140, which has a magic number
Cool.
for Twitter. Then Bitcoin is number 3, and they're talking about Nostrika. Damus is number 4. Pleb Chain is number 5, so that's getting a lot of use, I see. Hash and ostriches. So it
Yeah,
seems like most of the hashtags, Sats, Nostrika. Okay, so London is the first one that doesn't look as on theme as you might, what you might expect. So any hypothesis why that one is showing? Is that because this account is particularly popular, or?
I guess it's because this account is popular, or maybe people that interacted with those threads, like liked them or replied to them, are popular. So
I see.
like these topics that mention this tech have big enough trust rank to get into the top. That's the idea.
Number hashtag 14, because it's number 14 is the rank of the
Already.
app. Uh-oh, hash 2. What is that? Cool. So, okay, I think that makes sense. So that's hashtags, people, posts. How does post discovery work?
So again, it's just the most popular posts in the last 24 hours. And popularity is again trust rank, basically.
Okay, I see. So it seems like this trust rank really underpins everything in the discovery area of Nostr.band. Is that right?
Yeah, at the moment it is.
Yep. And how flexible do you think about that being with respect to maybe, like, I think, it's still kind of an active topic that I see. I think JB55 just said something again about it today or yesterday about Zaps coming soon. So like, if and when Zaps are incorporated and launched, which is not a Nostr concept, it's more of a Damus concept, but would you start to include some of that in trust rank, or would you wait until it has more protocol-centric nature to it?
I think I would if it gains any traction, like if there are actually many zaps, then of course I would take it into account. definitely.
And are
And
zaps in their current form stored as some sort of type within a node?
I didn't even look too far into that. I'm not sure. I don't think they're live. I mean,
Yeah.
they are somewhere on the pipeline, but I
Right.
don't think they are live, so
I noticed
haven't
them
dug
live
into them.
in Snort Social, right?
Well, from all clients you can send tips, but those are not zaps. Those are not
Right.
proven to be sent, and they are not written into the Nostr
But
relays.
this is a client specific feature, right? For sending at the node level.
Yeah, that it just takes the uh, lightning address from the profile
Mm-hmm.
and fetch invoice using LN URL and allows you to pay with your
I see. So
favorite
it's just a
lightning wallet.
convenience to post
Yeah,
to
yeah,
send a tip to that person, but it's not
yeah.
otherwise very, it's not like post centric.
Like, it's not even about being post-centric. It's not visible to anyone except like you and the
Sure.
person who received your tips. So
Right.
it could have been post-specific, but it doesn't matter really. No one can see it.
So today the client knows what post it was initiated on because it controls the UI, and presumably
Yeah.
that would be interesting information for, information organization, people discovery, search quality. There's lots of signal in that, but it's not protocolized
Well,
yet.
the idea with trying to have a proof of payment is probably to fight spam, so that you wouldn't be able to fake payments and wouldn't be
Mhm.
able to claim that you've paid like 1,000,000 sats to someone when you didn't. And like, okay, so this is another question, maybe our topic that we could touch
Mhm.
on, because I've changed my mind maybe a little
Oh,
bit.
tell me. I love it. I
So
love it when people
the
change their mind.
yeah, well, it felt really cool to have one-click tips on Astral Ninja when they arrived there at first. And it did feel cool, but then I switched to other client and the Astral Ninja has no reactions, and this other client does have reactions, so I just started liking those posts and stopped sending tips.
Mhm.
And then when thinking about why that was the case, I would probably that both like that small tips at the order of like fractions of a penny are as cheap as likes
Right.
in terms of like if you add any friction to them, then nobody is gonna do it. But if you
Right.
remove all the friction, then for a person, like is in this sending like 10 sats with one click.
Right.
And likes might even be more useful because they're gonna be shown up as a notification, and you will know that some person reacted to your tip. Does not produce a notification, then it's even less useful in that manner.
But
And so
presumably
what I'm
that could
leading
be
to,
fixed, right?
yeah, with the zaps,
Yeah.
we could have it. But what I'm coming to is that initially I was maybe overly excited about like this being a feature, distinguishing feature of a Twitter Nostr ecosystem where people would be sending tips sets instead of likes.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm not so sure because like, okay, a typical person is gonna earn 5 cents, and a typical wannabe influencer with like 1,000 followers is
Right.
gonna earn maybe $1,
Right.
just
Right.
like they do on any other network
Right.
that advertises this idea of we're going to monetize your content somehow with ads, obviously, but
Right.
anyway, you're going to get some pennies for that, and they don't. So
Right.
maybe the Lightning integration with Nostr is a great idea for e-commerce use cases where you had huge friction like before and now you don't have it. I don't know, things like OnlyFans or selling
Hmm.
pictures or selling art or selling consulting
Right.
services where there is actually a meaningful amount of value that you would like to exchange. And if
Mm-hmm.
before that you had to pay like Visa and MasterCard huge fees and you had to go through centralized entities to like even register as a someone
Right.
who can accept payments, it would lead to there being platforms that would take a huge cut on all your receipts.
Right.
That's a great thing, but at the I'm not so convinced that
Hmm.
Twitter style social network benefits much from being able to like send sats.
Right. So
They
just to make
like
sure I understand,
they
is
look
this
as
the
cheap
one?
as likes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so just to make sure, is this the one that you've changed your mind on recently?
Yeah.
Because I think I'm still in the other camp, but for a different reason.
Okay.
So I'll pitch you why I think it's interesting. You tell me why it's not. So
Okay.
I think as we know, there's a cost to operating relays, and so somebody has to pay
Yes.
for that cost. There's compute, bandwidth, storage.
Mhm.
That cost is real. Somebody has to pay. I think the people who are going to pay are users. People are going to either pay directly, consume ads, do other advertising related activities to earn sats to pay, whatever. Lots of different ways, but ultimately the person who's consuming is going to have to pay. I think that's probably irrefutable. If that's the case,
Yeah.
then that every user is going to have value on store with this network. They'll one tap to do anything. Value inclusive, right? So you don't have to link a credit card. You don't have to you don't have to link a bank account. Because you already are paying for the core service, you also be able to pay sats, dish them out here and there, right? Now, I agree with you that a typical user is not going to make enough money to care. So they won't be using it because they're motivated to like create content or some sort of micro influencer makes $1. It's like, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you that that's not exciting. I think the kind of like every user should control their data so that they can monetize it personally is like a way overstated concept that mostly doesn't make sense because there's typically not big enough audience, not enough interest.
Yeah.
What I do think can be very shaping here, though, is because it allows users to pay, because users have to pay for at least the relay usage somehow. That also means you've got sats on hand. And so I think you can pay for things like anti-spam. And one of the anti-spam signals may be, I just flipped you 10 sats. Now, it's not a lot. It's not a lot to say, like, I made money on that. That's my job. But it's enough to say, now I have a high quality experience because I'm the buyer of the product instead of, the product being sold to advertisers. And so I think it's really more that sats can be used as a you'll have them loaded already and you'll use them as a anti-spam and quality signal, and it sort of allows this network to operate with more transparent algorithms so that we're not beholden to like a single centralized decision maker on what algorithm we should use. We have like many thousands of competing algorithms, and they're transparent and open, so I can pick the one that I want, or I can have a client that picks one that serves my needs.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's about a typical end user earning money. I think it's about like increasing the quality of what happens on the network. And then I think there is money to be earned by very large, content creators, who,
Mm.
maybe it's an alternative to people who might otherwise, run their living off of a Substack or something. So it
Yeah.
may have those aspects, but I think the typical user is overstated. I think most typical users not going to be like really making money, but money generates signal. I think that's
Yeah.
why I still find it compelling.
I
Did I
agree
change your mind?
totally.
Okay.
Well, the point on which I changed my mind was that we could use this idea of
Able to
receive sats instead of likes on this new network, so that's why you should join.
Oh yeah.
This marketing proposition probably is weak.
Yes, I agree.
Let's call it that way.
I agree with that. I think it's weak to say you should come here to earn money.
Yeah.
I think it's not the right reason.
Not
to come.
even like to earn money, but even like the idea that you're gonna earn some sats. Like if one actually counts them once,
Right.
they are gonna be a little disappointed. So anyway, I don't think it really matters. It's just one thing that.
Right. There is something though hidden in there that I think is worth unpacking, which is a typical person who shows up probably does not earn money. Just like a typical person who shows up and creates video content on TikTok doesn't earn any money. But every once in a while, somebody comes on TikTok and they make their first video or their 10th video and it gets 10 million views. It's not common, but it's almost like a lottery. And, if you happen to create that killer piece of content, you get 10 million views. And if that's 10 million sats or 100 million sats, it can start to be meaningful. So you might end up with the dynamic of like, hey, look, I come on every day, I make stuff, nobody cares, there's no money in it. And then I win the lottery one day. And all it takes is that there's enough examples of those lottery winners that everybody wants to compete to play that lottery. And the way you compete to play the lottery is you show up and you create things that are good.
Okay, that makes sense. Because right now, if you are trying to become an influencer, you're gonna you like creating content and you wanna that content to be public, but then how do you earn money off of it? So either you have to switch the ads on and hope that the platform shares some revenue with you, or if you have or you have to start like selling referral links, selling courses or something.
Or paywalls, yeah.
Or you
paywalls,
could,
I think.
yeah, or you can just get direct money. Occasional hits that you could eventually produce. Yeah. Maybe that.
I think it's just all kinds of different models, but I think I agree with your assessment that it's not a compelling pitch to say come here to make money. Like you're going to earn sats, that's why you should be here. It's like no, there's lots of different reasons.
Well, on the other hand, I guess we're gonna have to close in a while. So if there is something important, you should, or I'm gonna go to a tangent.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm just enjoying the conversation and just, like to explore these ideas together.
I remember watching a video with the founder of Musical.ly thing that
it's kind of the precursor to TikTok.
TikTok, I guess. Yeah. And so he was describing like how he created the network, and I guess it's not people work in that space, but he was saying basically that you have to create influencers in your initial set of users, and then others will look at them, at their success, and come to imitate them and to try to reach the same heights. And so let's suppose that one person, when all clients have lightning tips, very cheap to produce one click, and someone produces a hit and earns, I don't know, $100 per post or 1,000, then maybe some other people will get really excited about it, and maybe it does become the proposition of the network where you don't really have to sell ads or sell your soul or referral stuff or something. You can just produce great content. So maybe something's still there.
I think it's
in this
compelling, and I
regard.
think it works. Even all you have to do is make it work on a small scale to show how it
Yeah.
works, because then that draws in.
Yeah.
Even I think the musically example is great. If you want one that's even closer to money, did you ever play this game called HQ Trivia? Do you know of it?
No, I haven't
Oh,
heard of it.
it
Yeah.
was maybe 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. It was
Okay.
a while back, maybe longer even. But it was a game, like a mobile app, and you would get a push
Yeah.
notif at like noon every day, and you would play a live global trivia game. So everybody who's using the app
Hmm.
is playing,
Okay.
you know, elimination rounds, multiple choice. You pick the thing, you get
Hmm.
eliminated. If you get the wrong answer, you continue if you get the right answer. And you go
Hmm.
step after step after step. And then if you get, I think, 10 right or 12 right, or you're sort of in the finals, I don't know, maybe you win some large amount of money, right? Because it's kind of a tier tournament style.
Hmm.
And every day they would run the tournament. And I think, by the time the thing was really getting very, very large, I don't know if they were giving away probably hundreds of thousands, or maybe they had $1 million jackpot at one point. I don't know.
Cool.
But so I think people hear that and think, oh, you need $1 million jackpot to start it, because that's when they heard about it.
Hmm.
But reality is when they started, it was just like $50 jackpot. It's good enough.
Yeah.
And there's people who are getting those types of there's people who are getting that on their posts. Like I don't know what I think there's no visibility into this. So I think your point is right that first this has to be sort of like a protocol layer feature, probably, so that there's a consistent way for clients to implement it and surface it, and
Yeah.
that comes with its own challenges. So I'm not proposing it should be there right now, but I think you could see a future. I think JB55 announced I forget if he said 10 million sats have been sent to him as the author
Yeah.
of Damus.
Hmm.
And so he was celebrating the
Cool.
fact that people. So it's like it's 1/10 of a Bitcoin, right? So it's a couple $1,000 US. So, not what a software engineer might earn for a year's worth of work that he's put into this, but it's a small view, a peek into the future. Of okay, if the author can make that, then maybe the creators on the platform could make that someday, not today, but maybe fast
Hmm.
forward a year, maybe then a creator makes what the author does, and then the author's making more. And I think there's a story behind it that you can elevate those things and elevate those success cases, and that draws more people in to participate. So maybe people even come, some people come to sort of play the lottery and see if they can hit the jackpot, and they try every day, and because it could be life-changing maybe if you really hit it. But they stay because the content is good, the spam is gone. There's all this new signal that flows through the network and just makes the whole experience better than any other media communications product we've ever
Hmm.
seen.
Yeah. Well, then, if we go back to this idea of a marketing value proposition of this is a network where you get tips directly, it might just be the wrong segment of audience that I wanted to pitch this to. I should have pitched this to influencers, not end users who are consumers. And the influencers might like this thing much more, and they have much higher chance of getting anything significant out of it. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess like if another property though is if somebody's successful in one domain, they're often not early to a new domain because like they kind of already
Yeah.
have their
Yeah.
thing working at a bigger scale. So if you already have, I don't know, 10 million followers on Instagram and you know how to, I don't know, sell makeup or whatever you do, then coming to
Mhm.
Nostr is not going to be exciting because you're going to be like, okay,
Yeah.
I get some sats, but I make like $1.50. Why bother? So it's almost like each new platform or kind of in this,
For
this
for
is
new
kind of
for new
protocol.
people, yeah.
But yeah, like when
Yeah.
there's some new person out there who doesn't have much influence in the world, but who would be really good at this format. And so if we
Yeah.
can
Who wants to be?
help nurture those people to like discover the
Mm.
fact that it can exist and that there are small success cases today, and then we can elevate and see bigger and bigger versions of those success cases over time. I think that then draws
Yeah.
in lots and lots of. So early on, it's Jack, it's Snowden, it's Damus in the App Store. Each one of these exogenous events that draws in a little bit more interest is healthy overall. But I think really playing the lottery, creating content to play the lottery is not going to be, I would guess it's not going to be a very early driver of attention. It's probably going to be like kind of come for the community, come for the anti-spam, clarity and focus of what the content is, come for the transparency and algorithms, and come all kinds of reasons that I think, nerds like us are interested, but maybe the whole world is not yet. But then with enough of that clumping together, then then it can be something.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
That feels better than 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Well, this has been fun. I know we've a couple of hours we've been on, and you are in a different time zone and ready to go to sleep. I'm just
Yeah,
starting
I
my day
actually
here
have
just
another call right now.
Oh, you do? Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You
Another
just keep
30
going.
minutes.
Okay. Well, thanks for spending all this time. And it's nice we sort of live stream, so it's just up there for people to chime in and ask questions or follow-ups. And I look forward to hopefully we get to do it again soon.
Yeah, right.